Number 42 was a house of fear. At least it was for Jamie. He lived there with his older brother, Nathan.
Nathan was mean. He was a bully. He was the dictator of number 42.
Jamie knew better than to cross his brother. He had learned his lesson many times. A shove, a stolen toy, a cruel nickname whispered in his ear. Nathan knew how to make Jamie's life miserable.
Jamie tiptoed around the house, always wary of his brother's mood. One wrong look, one misplaced word could set Nathan off. Jamie just wanted to disappear. He longed for a day when Nathan wouldn't be around. But that day seemed very far away.
Nathan was big for his age. He towered over Jamie, a constant shadow looming. His voice was loud and booming. Nathan loved ordering Jamie around.
Clean my shoes, get me a soda.
He had a permanent scowl etched on his face. His words were often barbed, cutting deep with insults and threats. His eyes, cold and calculating, seemed to see Jamie's every fear.
But behind Nathan's tough exterior, a secret lurked. He desperately craved approval. He wanted to be liked, even admired. He just didn't know how. This insecurity fueled his anger, driving him to lash out at anyone who dared to get close, especially Jamie. A flyer fluttered onto Nathan's desk. A party. This Saturday, his heart skipped a beat. Amy would be there.
Amy with her long flowing hair and sparkling eyes. Amy who laughs at my jokes in class. Amy who I secretly adore from afar.
This was his chance, a chance to talk to her, to make her notice him. Maybe, just maybe, she would see past his rough exterior.
I imagined dancing with her, laughing, her hand in mine. A warmth spread through my chest. I had to go to this party. It was all I could think about.
A cruise? His mother chirped, waving a brochure in his face. Isn't it exciting? We're going to the Mediterranean.
Nathan felt the blood drain from his face.
A cruise? When? I stammered, my voice tight with dread.
Next week, dear, his mother replied, oblivious to his horror. We set sail on Saturday.
Saturday, the party, Amy. It was all slipping away. Rage bubbled up inside him, hot and vicious. He was trapped.
No, I roared, the brochure falling from my mother's grasp. I'm not going. I can't go.
The cruise was a nightmare. Nathan, consumed by his anger and disappointment, made sure of it. He stomped around the ship, a storm cloud in human form.
The food is terrible, the activities are boring, the cabin is tiny and there is no window, the bed is too uncomfortable, the ocean is too wet. I feel like a prisoner on board a prison ship.
His family couldn't escape his wrath. His parents, initially patient, grew increasingly frustrated. His younger brother, Jamie, retreated further into himself, terrified of setting Nathan off. The once joyful family vacation had become a crucible, fueled by Nathan's simmering resentment. The ship may have been sailing on water, but the atmosphere on board was thick with tension.
Enough, Nathan.
His mother's voice, usually so soft and gentle, was now sharp and laced with steel. She stood tall, confronting her son. Nathan stared at her, taken aback by her sudden forcefulness. He had never heard her speak to him like this before.
This is supposed to be a family vacation, but you're ruining it for everyone. You're being selfish and unkind.
Her words struck him like a physical blow. He had been so caught up in his own anger that he hadn't stopped to consider the feelings of others. Shame washed over him, hot and suffocating. The cruise finally ended. It felt like an eternity. As Nathan stepped off the ship, he couldn't shake the feeling of relief. He was home. He walked through the park, lost in thought. His anger had subsided, replaced by a dull ache of regret. He had been awful to his family. Suddenly he saw her, Amy, sitting on a bench reading a book. His heart leapt. He hadn't missed his chance after all. He walked towards her, his heart pounding in his chest. He had to say something, anything.
Amy?
He said, his voice surprisingly steady. She looked up, her eyes widening in surprise.
Nathan, hi.
He surprised himself by apologizing for his behavior on the cruise. He told her about the party, how much he had wanted to go. Amy listened patiently, a small smile playing on her lips. When he was finished, she spoke.
You know, there's another party this weekend. If you want to make it up to me...
Nathan's heart soared. He couldn't believe his luck.
I'd love to.
he breathed, a genuine smile spreading across his face. The party was a blur of music, laughter, and stolen glances. Nathan, for once, wasn't putting on a show. He was himself, or at least a kinder, gentler version. He danced with Amy, talked with her friends, and even managed to crack a few jokes without resorting to sarcasm. For the first time in a long time, he felt comfortable in his own skin. As the night wore on, he realized something had changed within him. The anger that had simmered inside him for so long had dissipated, replaced by a warmth that spread through his chest whenever Amy was near. He had been so focused on being liked, on being feared, that he had forgotten how to simply be. But with Amy, he didn't need to pretend. He could be himself, flaws and all. The weeks that followed were a revelation. Nathan and Amy were inseparable. They spent their days exploring hidden cafes, laughing at silly movies, and sharing their dreams and fears. Nathan found himself looking forward to spending time with his family. He apologized to Jamie for his past behavior, and while his brother was initially wary, he slowly began to let his guard down. The scowl that had been a permanent fixture on Nathan's face softened. He smiled more, laughed more, and even found himself complimenting people sincerely. He had discovered that being kind, being genuine, was far more rewarding than ruling through fear and intimidation. He had found love, not just with Amy, but with himself. The terror of number 42 had finally come to an end. In its place bloomed something unexpected and beautiful.